Hello everyone, I'm GCROCK, and in today's video, I'm going to be giving you some hints and tips on how to complete the Division 2 hardcore mode. And what I mean by complete, I'm going to assume that you're here today because you want to complete the toughest task that there is on the hardcore mode, and that is to complete a Dark Hours hardcore raid. Now this is coming from somebody that has completed 4 of these raids already. I've done 1 on PC, I've done 3 on PlayStation, and I am working towards my Xbox completion too. And I've never lost a character, touch wood. We have never died. Well, I've never died, and I believe in these hints and tips I'm about to share with you. These will really help you get to that Dark Hours raid on hardcore and complete it. So that's what this video is about today. I hope you do enjoy it. If you do, make sure you hit like and share to support it. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here for more content from myself. If this video does do well, I do plan to do some more hardcore videos, like a hardcore builds, a hardcore strategies. They are pretty much the same as my normal strategies for the Dark Hours raid, but obviously there are some minor adjustments just to make it that bit easier, so we will do those videos in the future. But yeah, make sure you like and share to let me know that you like it, and you subscribe if you're new. Now moving on to the first tip, and this is very important in my opinion. You've got to find a team to play with. Now a lot of people do play solo on hardcore, and if that's your thing then fine, but as I just explained, I'm giving you tips and tricks on how to complete a Dark Hours raid, and that's going to require 8 people. So you're going to need 7 other friends to go through that Dark Hours raid with, and it's best that you start your hardcore journey with those people. Work together, grind together, go through the story together, and what will happen is, as some do lose characters, as it is going to happen, not everybody's going to get through a hardcore mode and get a Dark Hours completion without people dying, but as that happens, you can work with each other to fast level people then to get them back up to where they need to be, and it is really a team effort. So find that team. You can join our community if you don't have any players to play with. There are people playing hardcore in there and wanting to, so that link is at the top of the video description if you do need people to play with. Once you have that team and you're starting your hardcore grind and you get to the White House, as soon as you can, come to the Quartermaster and you want to unlock the Hive. This is going to save your life, and it's a reviver hive that you want. I advise to have a reviver hive on at all times. Now you all know what this does. If you go down to your knees, this is going to get you back up 99% of the time, because it is a little bit bugged, but that 99% of the time is absolutely crucial. I cannot recommend this skill enough. And another little tip while we're here on skills, a good secondary skill to use is like a distraction skill or an offensive skill. So things like the turret or the drone, the striker drone, those things, when you deploy them, the enemies are going to focus on them, which means they're not focusing on you. So they're a great little defensive tool as well. Things like a decoy also work like that as well, but obviously that doesn't last as long. I do believe the turret and the striker drone are OP secondary skills, but you're definitely going to want a revive hive. And my next tip is to never play solo. Now, I know a few people will want to do this for a challenge, and that is absolutely fine. But if you're just looking to get all the commendations on hardcore, then playing solo is an absolute huge risk. So don't do it, because there's loads of things that can happen playing solo. For one, your revive hive might not work, which means you're screwed. For 2, you might get a delta, and deltas are so something you can't control, and they bring an end to so many hardcore characters. And the reason being is that when you get a delta, your character is left in the instance for 30 seconds. So in that 30 seconds, if it dies before it gets booted for being idle, you're going to lose your character. You'll load back in and it'll be gone. Now, people have quit the hardcore mode because of this, and one of the best ways to protect yourself against that is running with somebody else, because if you do delta and they're still in, they can protect your character for those 30 seconds until you disappear and your character's safe. So that's one thing that you can do to kind of counter the delta. Now, with all of your delta at the same time, there's nothing you can do. There are some instances where, you know, your character's just going to go through a delta and then nothing can be done, but that is the life of hardcore right now, and it's just how it is. But playing in a group does give you the best chance, and it's something I've always done. I've very rarely gone in solo, maybe just to do a Cassie Mendoza or something, just because she's selling something I wanted, but otherwise I've always been with another player. So those tips alone are going to be all you need to get through the story. The story's not that difficult at all, to be honest with you, you know. It's quite straightforward. Just take your time, get through the main campaign, get through New York, and then you're at level 40, and you're on to making a build. Now, the first thing that you want to do at level 40 is aim to make an unbreakable build. Get an unbreakable chest piece. It's highly recommended. This build is what you can use through the raid as well. There are a few other builds you're going to want for the raid as an 8, but an unbreakable build is absolutely perfect. That unbreakable talent just gives you that extra protection, so when your armor is depleted, you get some more armor. You know, I can't recommend it enough. It's like your safety net, so you can play a little bit more adventurous before that procs, and then you know you've got to take your time for 60 seconds until you get it back. You're going to have a tardigrade as well, which we'll get into in future videos, but the unbreakable talent is absolutely OP in hardcore. Another thing you're going to want to do as soon as you reach endgame is come to Ainara, because she's going to be selling two things that are going to be of huge value to you, and that's account shared blueprints and account shared materials. If you buy both of these, you'll share your blueprints that you have with your main characters, even if they're not hardcore, and the same as the materials, which means you don't need to go and farm any mods for your weapons, and you can share the materials, which will make it easier to upgrade your gear and optimize it. Now, one thing I forgot to mention, and you could do this before you reach level 40, I think it's as soon as you hit level 30 and you complete like the main campaign, you can equip a specialization. You want to do this as soon as you can, and I highly recommend that you go with the specialization that you've spoke about with your team that you're going to be using for the raid. Now, in the raid, I'd say 6 of you are going to be using Demolitionist, and 2 of you are going to be using the Survivalist to open the gates on Razorback. So make sure you equip the specialization that you're going to be using in the raid and get it upgraded. You can get points for this while you're going through New York, and you just want to max it out. There's loads of things on a specialization that you're going to want to max out, including the weapons that you're going to be using to give you more damage. And also with the Demolitionist, you want to make sure you get things like Brace for Impact, because you can ignore an explosion every 60 seconds. That's very good when it comes to Razorback and the mortars. It also gives you some burn resistance as well, which makes it a little bit better to farm when you've got like outcasts or whatnot. So just make sure you are leveling up specializations that you're going to be using as soon as you can. And in terms of grinding, so once you got to level 40 and you need to grind for your build, the best way and the safest way to actually do this is not on your hardcore character. Now, you may call this cheese, but if your sole goal is to get the commendations to complete a Dark Hours raid, well, it's safer to do it this way, and you just farm the Dark Zone with your main character, your non-hardcore character, because anything you extract that you want is going to go into your mailbox under deliveries, and this deliveries mailbox is shared between all your characters, your non-hardcore and your hardcore. So basically, extract stuff that you want, don't remove it from this mailbox, log into your hardcore character, just go to the DZ checkpoint, open the mailbox up, or do it from your stash at the base of operations. I believe you can get there as well. And yeah, you can just take any items that you farm for with your main character. It is the easiest way to get some builds together. So just use the DZ and do it that way. Now, you can obviously use your hardcore character to grind as well, but just remember you got a chance of death there. You don't have a chance of death with your other characters. And on top of that, this mailbox is also used for other things. So if you on your main character fill out your caches, like I have 20 out of 20 here, now things like field proficiencies are going to drop on the floor, but if you play conflict, any conflict caches are going to go to your mailbox, and if you do your season, any season rewards are going to go into your mailbox as well. So if you have a look at the rewards track here, you're going to get all these caches and season rewards into your mailbox. Like that waveform holster as well will go into a mailbox if I am full 20 out of caches or full 150 on 150 on my inventory space. So that's something to think about as well if you just want to get your hardcore character easy loot. And just moving on to exotics for your hardcore character, a great way to get exotics is to work with your team. Every week you have this project that I'm going to bring up now, and it's the weekly shade project. And by completing it, you get an exotic cache and you get a named item too. So this weekly shade requisition, you just got to donate food, receiver components, fabric, polycarbonate, and electronics. just donate all of that. You get a named item and an exotic cash. And if you're in a group with somebody else while you do that, these are shareable among that group. So with your group of people, make sure you're linking up with the maximum you can, which is a group of 4. Open these together, and anything you don't want, you can share with your team. Anything they don't want, they can share with you. This is a great way of getting any named items that you want or exotic items. And we're getting to the end of this hints and tips video now, but I did just want to discuss the watch level. Now, this is my hardcore character that I've completed 3 hardcore raids with, and you can see that I'm only shade level 61. Watch level is not as important as people think it is, and I cannot stress this enough. Now, obviously, it is nice to have. You know, I'm not going to say it's not nice to have, because that would be stupid, but you can easily complete the Dark Hours raid without having watch levels. It's just about strategy, good teamwork, and knowing what you're doing, and practice as well, you know. I'll explain in a second in the next tip how you can practice, but your watch level is not that important. I've seen loads of people die a lot on hardcore because they're going for those watch levels, and then they've given up without ever trying to do the raid. Don't worry about these. If this is a stress for you, forget about it. It's a top tip. I didn't worry about watch levels, but there is one other tip. If you do want watch levels and you do want to max your watch out, if I was to die now and I was to make another hardcore character, when I got to level 40, I would be back at shade level 61. They do save, and that is very key to know. So these watch levels are not wasted if you do farm for them. If you die and you get a character back up to speed, you keep your watch level. And that does bring me on to my next tip about practicing. Now, this is my hardcore unbreakable build that I've used for a couple of those raids. It's not the best build in the world, but I do have it fully optimized there. And that is one of my tips. You do want to fully optimize your build, because if you're going to be doing a Dark Hours raid, make sure you give it everything you've got. Kind of goes against what I just said about the watch level, but this is a lot easier to put together than getting 1000 watch levels, okay? And you can, with the account shared blueprints and materials, there's going to be a video linked down in the video description where you can easily optimize this build without ever leaving the White House. So go and watch that video. It's very, very cheesy, I agree. But yeah, it allows you to fully optimize the build with ease. Now, what you want to do as well, my last tip really is, before you do the Dark Hours raid as an 8, you really want to practice. Now, without the watch levels here, this build is nowhere near what my build is on my main character. So what I do to practice is, with my main character, I'll come to the base of operations, I'll go to my specializations, and I'm going to adjust my specialization so it brings my damage down, because that's the biggest difference. It's a bit of survivability difference, but you don't really notice it. But on my main character, I am hitting a lot harder than I am in my hardcore character. So I'll come here and I'll respec these elements on rifle and on assault rifle damage, which is the weapons I'm using, and I'll just put 1 into both of them, which actually drops my damage on both weapons by 10%. And if anything, it makes it less than my hardcore character. And what I also do on the build, I'll come into my unbreakable build that you can see here on my main character, and I'll remove my mods. So where I've got critical hit damage mods, I'm going to remove all 3 of them and have no mods on the build whatsoever. So I'm dropping 10% damage per weapon. I'm dropping, what's that, 36 critical hit damage, 36%. So that puts me in a worse position than my hardcore character, which means in our practice sessions, if we all do that and we're clearing Dark Hours flawlessly quite easily, we know we're ready for a Dark Hours hardcore raid with those builds. And that is it. That is all of my hints and tips for hardcore mode on the Division 2. They're basically what I live by when I'm playing the mode. And as I said at the start of the video, touch wood, I have never lost a character. I want to complete a hardcore raid now on Xbox, and I'd have done a hardcore raid on all 3 platforms without ever dying. So that's my next goal. These are the tips that I live by playing hardcore, and like I said at the start as well, I'm one of those people that just wanted to complete the toughest content in the game, which was a hardcore Dark Hours raid, and I cannot recommend this enough to people. It's so much fun to play. The intensity, everybody I've ever done a hardcore raid with, you just feel it more than anything else on the game. And if that's what you play games for, you love that intense feeling, there is nothing better in a Division 2. So I hope these tips do help people. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you've got any tips you want to advise people as well, I truly appreciate it. Don't forget to hit like and share on the video to support it. Subscribe if you're new here. And now we are done with the video, make sure you come and check out our fantastic gaming community. It's linked at the top of the video description. Until next time, thank you for watching this today. Stay safe and peace out.